What's up, Met fans? Welcome back. Talkin Mets and Rob. How's everybody doing? Before I get started talking about Luis Castillo possibly being traded to the New York Mets, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you're enjoying my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos and when I go live, you know what to do, guys. Hit on that subscribe button, guys. All right, guys. So, why do the Mets need to do everything they can to get Luis Castillo away from the Reds and in a Mets uniform? There's a few reasons for that, guys. And the one reason is not only did we lose Noah Syndergaard, there is pitchers coming off the board left and right, starting pitching that the New York Mets could have went after, but they were too busy worrying about GM and President of Baseball Operations search over the last month and a half that they're behind the 8 ball with other teams. When other teams are planning, the Mets are just starting to plan with Eppler at the helm right now for the New York Mets. Luis Castillo is the perfect number 2 behind Jacob deGrom on this Mets team. The Mets need to do what they got to do to get Luis Castillo to the New York Mets. We're going to go over a trade scenario. We're going to go over Luis Castillo's stats and why I think the Mets need to do what they have to do to get him. We're going to do it right here, guys. All right, guys. So with Luis Castillo, the Reds are looking to trade him. He does have 1 year left on his deal. We'll look at that in a little bit. But the New York Mets have a piece in their minor league system that is expendable. Some Mets fans might not be happy with it. Others might be. But the reason why I'm going to continue to bring this player up is because there is nowhere to play him on this Major League roster. And we're going to get to that in a little bit as well. The New York Mets did not only lose Noah Syndergaard, they can possibly lose Marcus Stroman. Other pitchers in the free agent market I am not fans of Gausman and other pitchers. I'm not very happy with where the Mets are looking free agents-wise when it comes to Steven Matz or Robbie Ray or other players, pitchers that are on the market that are going to get a lot of money and they're not worth all that money. And that's exactly what I want the Mets not to do, is to overspend for a pitcher that had a career year. And yes, I am including Marcus Stroman and including Noah Syndergaard in that matter. And if you want to even look at Steven Matz, who has 8 offers on the table, including the Mets. It is outrageous how much money pitching is right now on the market. I mean, to see that Steven Matz can possibly get over $10 million, probably close to 15, for a guy who is a middle-of-the-road pitcher, who is a number 4 and number 5, can get $50 million from a team. It's outrageous, guys. I don't like it, and it's the reason why the Mets need to go through the trade market to land a big-time starting pitcher in Luis Castillo. You can always get back into the rotation for around $9 to $10 million elsewhere, but we do need a number 2. Carrasco is getting older. I'm not sure about Taijuan Walker. There's 2 of those guys right there that are question marks. We need a solid guy behind Jacob deGrom as our solid number 2 that we can count on. Luis Castillo is that guy. When we look at Luis Castillo and his contract situation, and the reason why the Reds want to trade him is right here, guys. And it's not going to be cheap, but I think this is the perfect trade scenario that we will get to in a little bit. But when it comes to Luis Castillo and his contract that he has left, he has 1 year of arbitration eligible, $7.5 million. Then he becomes an arbitrational eligible one more time at the age of 30 in 2023. So not only will you have Luis Castillo for 2022, but you will have him for the 2023 season. So you got 2 years of control before he's a free agent, and you get him at his prime at 29 and 30 years old. This is why the New York Mets have to do everything they can. There's going to be competition for Luis Castillo. Obviously, there's a lot of teams around the league that need starting pitching. There's our cross-time rivals in the Yankees need starting pitching. They will try to go after him. But I'm telling you right now, guys, the New York Mets have the guy that is expendable, that is in the top 5 in the Mets prospect list. And another thing, guys, when it comes to Luis Castillo, when you want to give what you need to give to get Luis Castillo, this is what you would want to do. But with 2 years left, it's a no-brainer the Mets need to make this trade. Look at his stats, guys. When we look at last year in 2021, Luis Castillo, he struggled a little bit. But the Reds weren't really a good team. He was 8-16 on the season. But we know how wins and losses are when it comes to starting pitching. He had a 3.98 ERA, which is not bad at all. But he did get better. He had over a 4.5 ERA in the first half of the season, but came on and pitched excellent for the Reds in the second half. He is worth what we should be giving up, that we'll get to in a little bit, guys. He pitched in 33 games. He pitches every game. He is there. You know he's going to make his start. He can give you between 5 and 7 innings every time he pitches, guys. That's what the Mets need behind Jacob deGrom. They are struggling to get pitching right now, and there's a lot of competition for a lot of guys on the free agent market. And like I said before, given a Gausman, a Stroman, a Steven Matz, that can go anywhere from $15 to $25 million for none of those pitches are going to be better than a 3-starter. It is not worth the money, guys. The Mets are better off going on the trade market and picking up this guy in Luis Castillo. 187.2 pitches, innings pitched in 2021. 192 strikeouts with a whip of 1.364, guys, and a WAR of 4.8. I am telling you guys, this is who the Mets need to focus on, and I do think Billy Eppler is going to focus on Luis Castillo because it is clear he does not want to go crazy with the pitchers on the free agent market to sign a starting pitcher that is not going to be worth the money. Now, if you want to get the back end of the starting pitching, fine. But to get a guy behind Jacob deGrom who is a solid and excellent number 2 is going to be on the trade market, guys. So who would the Mets have to give up to acquire Luis Castillo in that 2 years of control? We're going to look at it right here, guys. The Mets obviously would get Luis Castillo, but they would also get Kyle Farmer, who is a shortstop/slash third baseman who can slot into third base, who is a solid third baseman, good defensively, not great with the bat. He's a 260 hitter, but he is a guy who can provide some power between 50 and 20 home runs, around 60 to 70 RBIs, which is perfectly fine for the New York Mets. To put him at third base, you know he's going to be there every day. He is going to perform. He was going to be a good player. But what the Mets would have to give up, and once again, guys, a lot of people are not going to be happy with this, but Ronnie Mauricio. Obviously, he, in the updated prospect list in 2021, he was dropped down, and Brett Beatty has moved up to number 2. So Ronnie Mauricio is number 3 in the prospect list on the Mets. But again, with Ronnie Mauricio, guys, I said this over and over again, and we've had arguments with it before over the course of a year. When the Mets traded for Francisco Lindor and signed Francisco Lindor to a 10-year deal, and the Mets did not move Ronnie Mauricio to second base or third base in the minor leagues, that told me that they have Ronnie Mauricio as an expendable trade piece. And they might not tell you that, but it's obvious. If you're going to have Francisco Lindor as your shortstop for the next 10 years, and they love Mauricio as much as they say they do, you put him on second base or third base so you know that when he keeps on trending up, you can bring him up to the big leagues sometime this year. He's projected to be up this year. But if he's going to be playing shortstop in the minor leagues, there is nowhere to tell if he can be a good third baseman or a good second baseman. And with the rumors swirling about Javier Baez possibly coming back to the Mets, now second base is off limits for at least 5 to 6 years. So shortstop is off limits. Second base is off limits. So all that's left is third base. Why wouldn't the Mets put him at third base? Because they want his value to stay high, and they know leaving him at shortstop will keep his trade value very, very high. That's why Ronnie Mauricio was in this trade, along with Jeff McNeil, because Jeff McNeil is done with the New York Mets, guys. Not only does he disobey his manager's positioning, but he gets into arguments and fights with Francisco Lindor and probably Javi Baez as well, and it caused a rift in the dugout, in the clubhouse, and it went on throughout the whole season. And the reason why Lindor got into McNeil's face was because McNeil did not like the defensive position and did not actually play where he was supposed to defensively a lot of the times when Rojas told him to. That's why Lindor got into his face. I'm not a big fan of Francisco Lindor when it came to certain things, but in this case, he is right. Francisco Lindor told you when he was signed that he's not a big fan of shifting the infield, but Lindor did it. McNeil didn't. That's why Lindor got into McNeil's face. McNeil is a lost cause. He can be better on another team. He is not a guy that the Mets can keep around in 2022. So Ronnie Mauricio and Jeff McNeil for Luis Castillo and Kyle Farmer. That is your trade scenario, guys. That's what I think can get done. You might have to give another lower level prospect, probably in the top 30, probably between 20 and 30, to add to Ronnie Mauricio and Jeff McNeil to get Luis Castillo. But I think it's worth it with 2 years of control. Behind Jacob deGrom is a must for the New York Mets, because the free agent market is not going to get you nowhere near the quality you can get with Luis Castillo. And that is exactly why you give up Ronnie Mauricio, who is expendable because he is nowhere to play in this Mets organization anymore, especially with Mark Vientos and Brett Baty moving up the depth charts with the New York Mets. Ronnie Mauricio is expendable. His value is high. The Mets need to use him to get Luis Castillo, guys. That is exactly why the Mets need to do this trade. And Billy Eppler needs to get on it right now, guys. Once again, guys, don't forget, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit on that like button. If you enjoy all my content, want to see more, want to get notified when I post my videos, and when I go live, hit on that subscribe button, guys, and hit on that notification bell so you get reminded when I go live and when I post my videos. Guys, this is the trade the Mets need to do. I want to thank you guys for watching, and as always, Mets fans, let's go Mets.